Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Friday. Happy Friday to you all. This is what I'm going to deem as Empowerment Friday. I got several messages from students requesting that I look over their research questions. And the reason why I call this Empowerment Friday is because I'm going to give you the tools necessary. I'm going to empower you with the tools necessary to reconsider your research questions. I'm not surprised that I got those questions because those are generally the questions that you would get in a research class. So I welcome those questions and I'm really happy to answer them. But because I wanted everyone to have the same information at the same time, I thought a video would be most appropriate. So let's just talk about questions in general, right? We have interesting questions and then we have research appropriate questions. Now, just because something is interesting does not necessarily mean that it's going to be research appropriate. And that's what I want to differentiate for you guys this morning. Okay, so for a research question to be considered research appropriate, it needs to meet these four criteria. It needs to be concise, it needs to be clear, it needs to be something that we can answer, and it needs to be focused. And I will also add to that, it should be complex, okay? The thing that you want to also consider is to stay away from why questions. You know, why does this happen or why does that happen? The reason you want to stay away from why questions has to do with the fact that why questions almost automatically tells you that your focus is way too broad. There are too many variations of answers that can be submitted for a why question. And that means it's not complex enough and it's not focused enough, okay? So let me give you some examples of what interesting questions are as opposed to what research appropriate questions are. And I'll give you the start off by talking about one very interesting question that does not meet the criteria as listed here. For me and a lot of other people, we have an interest in knowing what happens after we die. But the fact of the matter is, no one's ever come back to tell us, so we don't have an answer for it. So we can't answer the questions, and I'm not going to negate any theories that we have out there that currently exist, but we just don't have the empirical data to support any of those theories at this time. So this is not something that can be answered, and that will take it out of the realm of being a research appropriate question. So what I'm going to do now is share with you some questions that are interesting, but not necessarily research appropriate, and then I'll tell you how to make those questions, a variation of those questions, more research appropriate. Okay? So the first question is, what effect does playing violent video games have on a child's behavior? That's a very interesting question. But does it meet the four criteria we have listed? And is it complex? Okay? So I would surmise that it is not. And I'll give you a better, more research appropriate approach to that question. And the question would be, what effect does playing the video game Mortal Kombat daily have on a 12-year-old's behavior? Okay, so that again is just an example of how to make an interesting question more research appropriate. Now we have more clarity there, we have a focus, and we also have more complexity to that question. Okay, here's another example. How can school bullying be prevented? That's an interesting question, but again, it does not meet the four criteria and it's not complex. Okay, so let's go to what we consider to be more of a research-based approach for that question. What effects does zero tolerance policies have on school-related bullying in middle school age children in New York City public schools? Again, we've added more clarity to it. We've added a focus to it, and it's more complex as a question, okay? So those are two examples that I wanted to share with you. And another tidbit I want to offer, be mindful that your question should not be leading. You don't want to start by saying, is something due to something else? Because that's like a leading question. And what you're actually doing is interjecting an opportunity for bias in your research. So let's not do that. Again, you want to stay away from the yes/no questions because you want it to be more complex. Okay, so if you have any further questions or need any additional help, please don't hesitate to contact me. But I did want to share these tidbits for you and with you, and hopefully this helps. Thank you and have a fantastic rest of your day.